Now, if you have gone to university since this pandemic started, you have frankly had a raw deal. The universities have been creaming it in. The Russell Group, the so-called elite, I would say elitist group of universities, I think they've improved their, they've added 2.2 billion to their coffers during the pandemic. Meanwhile, students have not been getting in-person lectures. Personally, I don't think the quality of teaching and interaction has been anywhere near the value they should get. Worse, you go to university in my day not to learn. It was all the social interaction, the independence. They've all been staying at home. Give them a refund. Let the campaign start now. Let me talk and bring in now, of course, one of the talkRADIO, good friend to talkRADIO, Connor Tomlinson, political commentator with Young Voices UK. Connor, come on, you were at uni.
You're too kind to me, Nick. Yes, I was a student, about a year and a half ago now, because I decided I finished my degree just as lockdown kicked in, my undergraduate, and I thought, well, I don't like the university system. It is as woke as people say. I've had many instances with biased lecturers, and I was done with it. I thought I needed to enter the world of work, and then I got locked in my home for about 2 years. And so I thought, okay, I'll do a master's alongside, making some headways in, getting into writing and getting into politics and things like that, which I never would have gotten into, as you said, if I hadn't have met some really brilliant politically engaged young minds like me on my university campus. I'm very thankful for those interactions today. What did I get? I got a year of Zoom, probably about 4 hours a week. And at certain points we had academics just drop out and fail to appoint markers for our master's coursework for about 2 months, so all of it was rushed through. Low communication, etc. The same fees were set.
Well, what were those fees?
So my fees, because I got a discount because I was a carrying over student, I paid £7,000 for my master's. For everyone else for an undergraduate, £9,250 a year. And then also, because universities like Kent, mine, they didn't tell you it was going to be all online. So people booked their accommodation and paid extra costs to live down there for no reason. That's why there was that famous photo with a student putting up in post-it notes on their window, 9250 for what? That was how students felt.
Now, interestingly, we all know it's not just about lectures, it's about tutorials. I also got the impression that during lockdown, a number of these academics were going off and doing other jobs, and they were asking people I knew to have the lessons or the lectures really late at night. So they were doing a day job during the same time as well. I mean, the student was losing out almost every time. On top of your fees, not only if you take a loan, you pay high interest at the moment. Secondly, many people had maintenance, didn't they, as well? So what's the sort of bill for, what was it, 7 hours? How much did you have?
It's about 7 hours a week.
7 hours a week. What would you say the average bill that a student is getting when you include maintenance and your rent and all of this?
Oh, I actually had about 4 hours a week. There we go. There's me putting it on it. So
well, you obviously didn't do maths.
No, I didn't do maths. Definitely not. If I did, I'd be in a much more lucrative career than just talking on the airways. So I wouldn't. So the bill for most students nowadays, I believe they did the numbers after the national insurance rise projections, and if you're on a graduate salary after the NIA goes through, with your loan repayments combined, you're on a 42% tax rate. So that, plus the cost of living crisis of energy bills, of the lowest number of homes in December that were available to buy around, the rents going up, I think it was about 9%, wasn't it, record?
Yep.
So
well, rents
all of those considerations
can be
horrendous.
£500-600 a month. This is a lot of money that we're actually seeing going through hands. So, look, there's this call to get money back. I have absolutely no confidence it's going to happen. And can you see it happening?
No, definitely not. The reason I can't see it happening is because any time it gets said, and it was said during the first year of the pandemic when there was 100,000 signatures on a parliamentary petition to get it debated, they said it devolved into a debate between one side, Labour, saying it should always be free anyway, free meaning even more taxpayer subsidies, and some on the Tory side ratified their commitment to the existing system and said if students want a refund, they can independently lobby for that. Now, the problem with that is you also have the strikes. Now, the strikes are still ongoing from the UCL, the University College.
They've been going about 3 or 4 years, haven't they?
UCU, yes. Yeah, they have. So since I started in 2017 as an undergraduate, I had about 6 weeks of teaching per term in my first time, and about 6 weeks total in my third year because of COVID and the strikes.
And you were at university properly for 1 year?
I was at university properly for all 3 of those years, just not the one during the pandemic.
What was this strike? What is this strike about?
So the strikes were originally about pensions, apparently, and working conditions, because they said they got too much unpaid overtime. A lot of that complaints from the lecturers were, we're sitting at home reading books that we need to do for our course, but we're not getting paid for that. So they want
like
ridiculous.
the rest of us do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also gender and race pay equity. So what they did is, much like the wage gap myth of old, they took all the pay for the male employees, all the pay for the female employees, all the pay for the white employees, all the pay for the non-white employees, and just said these numbers aren't the same. Now, obviously, that doesn't account for the fact that there's a disproportionate number of white guys who are VPs of the universities compared to maybe the cleaners or maybe just the junior academic staff, because they've got new scholarships.
So therefore you see a disproportion in the salaries.
Yes.
And they're still striking over this.
Yes, and they're still striking over this to this day, and of course they're going to continue striking over that, because you're never going to get complete equity unless you pay some sort of junior middle manager or some PhD student the exact same amount as a vice-chancellor. It's a ludicrous communist claim.
Connor, why does anyone go to university? And I'm not being flippant here now, okay? Why go when you can have effective apprenticeships? You can do apprenticeships in pretty much anything now. You can become an accountant, you can become a lawyer that way. You can do it. You earn a little bit of money. The relationship has been I didn't go to university. I went to a College of Arts and Technology. I think it's now called Anglia Ruskin University. I went for the social life. I went for the independence and a little bit of learning. Don't judge me, but that was the reality. But we were made there. It was a rounded education. It was not transactional. It seems purely transactional now. They compete to get you in, take your money, and do as little in return as possible. Why go?
Because you do have the experience aspect, you do have the building bonds and leaving university and forming something brand new aspect. I mean, for example, last time I was here, I talked about the British Conservation Alliance. I formed that with people I met at university, and we need these sort of counter institutions because the universities are so woke. We need the like-minded students to consolidate on campus and build a counter movement. But lots of students still go because they're impassionate. They are believing in the subjects they take. I went and I really put my head down and did the best I could, despite some malpractice from my lecturers. Some people go, it's a waste of time. They take what is called Mickey Mouse degrees. They barely get up for Netflix, let alone their lecturers, and so they're squandering not only the taxpayer money but their future money that they're hoping they never pay off because the debt gets written off.
But that's what I don't understand, is you're right, there are some Mickey Mouse degrees out there, and I remember seeing some. And look, if someone wants to pay for that and do it, okay, good luck to you. But why would you saddle yourself with debt? Is someone giving the false promise, this will get you a job and you will earn X? Because that needs exploding, that myth. There's more graduates in low-paid jobs than there should be if they've all been told they're going to go and get well-paid jobs.
Because I think a lot of the Mickey Mouse degrees, which are predicated on a lot of the woke ideas, have filtered down to lower levels of education. So because people believe that, and because they get invested in these narratives like women's studies, etc., they're going to university and study it higher because they've been listening to it throughout their time at like secondary school, for example. But there's no reason the universities, and this is where it shows that universities is purely a sort of theft engine at the moment, where it's propped up by the taxpayer, unfortunately, all to our regret. Masters and PhDs, they have different prices based on your lab time, your contact hours, your job opportunities at the end of it. But the undergraduate, which is what most people take for 3 years, has a flat fee. So I would pay, for example, if I was to take a women's study degree, God knows why, I would pay the exact same price as biochemist. Now, it's not that there isn't some value in certain degrees like philosophy and that,
I know
but
where
you're
you're
not
going.
guaranteed a job. So why isn't it variable? It's because the universities just want to take your money no matter your opportunities.
And that, frankly, is a warning to everyone to think very carefully about why you want to go to university, what you want to get out of university before you decide to go to university. And I think that's the only way I can look at it. I mean, I shouldn't talk about this because I failed my A-levels terribly. I wasted my education, and to be honest, I forever should be shamed for that because my parents funded me into a private education. But the reality was the route was assumed you would go to university when only about 2 or 3 of the population went to university. It's different now. Blair's 50% must go has created a market, and I think you guys, your generation, have lost out badly. Connor Tomlinson, fantastic as
Pleasure,
ever.
Nick.
Political commentator with Young Voices UK, joining me with huge common sense and a bit of a warning.